folks. Hello, folks. Well, welcome to. Let's start again, shall we? Hello, folks. Welcome to this now number 8, which is called Missing, and is about finding comfort for Mother's Day if that's a day that you find challenging or painful. It'd be lovely if you said hi in the comments and maybe let me know where you're watching from. While people are arriving, I'm going to read a poem called Lilac Time, which is from my existing poetry book. That is really just about making the best of seasons of life in general. So I hope that will be edifying for people. Right. Lilac Time. In long soft plumes the lilac blooms dance in the breeze. The flowers are stirred as though they heard life's melodies. The blossoms crowd, a massing cloud, life unrepressed. Yet through the leaves their fragrance breathes a wistfulness. Through April days the lilac sways to its own song. Joyous and free, or minor key, the dance goes on. So briefly here, yet every year it lifts my heart. Before my eyes new hopes arise, a new song starts. Some loveliness will come to us for just a while. I will embrace each touch of grace, and I will smile. And when it's gone, new blessings come by God's design. The roses grow, the leaves turn gold, the crisp snows shine. Though seasons shift, each perfect gift is from above. All blessings flow that we might know our Father's love. I know I must learn how to trust in what He's planned. I'll find delight as I hold tight my Father's hand. My heart will soar as I explore His love's expanse. Through all life's tunes, like lilac blooms, I'll learn to dance. Okay. Hello, Paula. If I'm brightly, I can. Yay. Paula says, "Hi Ruth, listening here in sunny Gainsborough." Good to know. Oh, I should top this. There we are. Right. Well, hello, folks watching now, and anybody who tunes in later. Welcome to This Now. I'm Ruth Fanshawe, and this is my writer live stream in which I share pieces of my work that I hope will help you make the most of whatever season of life you're in. If anybody has any questions, they're very welcome. Likes and shares are also very welcome if you feel I've earned them. Now, what I'm going to do this month is try and get the author news out of the way straight away, and then we can go into the material. So my author news is the podcast, which is the audio from the live streams edited into podcast form, is nearly up to date. There's just last episode and this one to go, and then we're golden. Oh, I have chosen the cover for Wholehearted, which is the next book that I'm hoping to get out this summer. And I got people on my Facebook writer page to vote on it, and twice as many people. First, we narrowed it down to 2, and then twice as many people voted for this as for the other one. So I can. That works. I don't know. Oh, I need to take the group. Take caption down for this so you can actually see it properly. Yeah, twice as many people voted for that as for the other one. So I guess this is the people's choice. And oh, the other thing I want to mention is I'm going to put together a questionnaire sometime pretty soon, in which I'd really love to hear people's feedback and what they would like to get from this now. And I won't, it's the thing that I use sets it up so I won't know who's filled it in, let alone who gives which answers. And if people could fill that in as honestly as possible, that would really help me out. For instance, if people don't think they're likely to watch the live stream, then it would be really helpful if they would fill it in but not tick the live stream box. See, because we could do it just as a podcast, or as recorded streams, or there's a lot of options. So yeah, I will get that sorted out as soon as I can, and I'll post it on my writer page. Okay. Right. I will. Oh, no, I haven't done. I thought I'd taken that down, but I haven't. There we are. Go back to the chat. And if you have any thoughts or comments while this stream is going on, I would love to hear them, or rather read them. Pop them in the chat. And I will now go on to the main material. Now, the theme is comfort for Mother's Day, if that's a day that you find hard. Mother Day has actually passed in the UK, but for most of the world, it's just coming up, I think, this weekend. And in many ways, it would have been better if I could have done this before the UK Mother's Day as well, but that didn't happen for various reasons. But I hope it will still bring some comfort to people and be helpful, even if they are in the UK or one of the other countries that has it in March rather than May, but most of the world has it in May. So I called this episode Missing, which is the title of a poem that I actually ended up deciding not to use, but it's like the dual meaning that a person is missing from your life one way or another, and you are missing them, which is what the poem explores. But that I felt that was apt for this material. Now I'm going to start sharing. Oh, I don't need to do that. Hold on. Share screen. Nope, that's not it. Talk amongst yourselves. Ah, there we are. That's the one. Right. Are you seeing a slide that says Mother's Day, it's okay to not be okay? I hope so. Now, there are a number of reasons why Mother's Day may be hard, quite a lot of reasons. You may be a mother who has lost a child. You may be a mother who has suffered a miscarriage, which of course is another way of losing a child. You may be a mother who has a troubled relationship with her children. You may be someone who would love to be a mother but isn't, which is one of mine. You may be someone who has lost their mother, which is also one of mine. You may be someone who has a troubled relationship with their mother. Or you may love your mother and be on good terms with her, but for some reason be unable to see her. And I don't have direct experience of all of these, and it will probably be a bit presumptuous for me to try and get into the nitty-gritty of the ones that I personally haven't experience, but it does seem to me that all of them involve grieving in some way. So that's going to be the aspect I'm going to try and be helpful about. So what I'm going to do is share a couple of my poems about childlessness that I hope will give some sort of comfort, and then go on to stuff I've learned about healthy ways to grieve, and share some poems that I wrote about processing the death of my mum, which I think have quite a general application for many kinds of grief that I hope will also be helpful to people. And then finish off with a little practical advice for dealing with Mother's Day, which is gleaned from various articles I've been researching on. And there's a link in the description that will take you to a page with links to all those articles and various other helpful links. But I was going to put them all in the description, then I thought, hang on, Facebook is just going to write this off as spam if I do that. So I've made very quickly in the last half hour, made a page on my website with all the links on. So hopefully that will be of service to people. By the way, I'd love to hear. I think last time the picture was a lot better on this, but I'm still trying to find ways to make the sound quality better, because it's been not terribly impressive so far. So I've got like a shock mount for my microphone now and a new kind of pop filter, and I hope that will help with that side of things. So yeah, it would be good to know in the comments as well how the sound is. Anyway, moving right along. The first of my poems is called To the Childless, and it was basically born out of how we can feel left out of life in various ways, and sort of processing that. And anyway, I will read it, and then you will see, and you'll see what it's about. To the childless. This one goes out to the childless, to the mother hearts, to the father hearts, to those who love your unborn ones, your unknown ones, your lost ones, to those who have chosen to smile and support when others make their happy announcements, while inside your hearts weep, to those who have chosen to celebrate the children of others, while inside you mourn for your own, to those who rejoice in the blessings poured out on others, and also grieve for your own death, to those whose bodies cannot make children, to those who have never known if their bodies can make children or not, to those who have tried for children but not found them, to those who have never had the chance to try, to those whose children were lost before birth, to those whose children were lost at birth, to those whose children were lost soon after birth, to those whose children were lost later, to those who have found joy and fulfillment in adoption and fostering, to those who have not, to those who are content to love the children of others, to those who are not, to those who have been able to let go, to those who have not, to those who have found peace, to those who have not, to the mother hearts, to the father hearts, to the bereaved parents, to the almost parents, to the never parents, to the never can be parents. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are not a dry tree. You have purpose. You have worth. Your hearts are beautiful. Your love is beautiful. You are not alone. You are not alone. Okay. And the next one is called The Bond, and it's my personal experience of childlessness and beginning to find God's comfort and peace in that beginning. It's a journey. But yeah. So The Bond. Although I will never be a mother, there is comfort in my father. There is rest in being his daughter. There is safety in his care. The pain yields ground to his love. I am not alone, not isolated, not rootless. I am irrevocably part of something, integrated into kinship, indissolubly in relationship. I am connected, grafted in, bonded to love. I belong to him. I belong. Okay. And now moving along to ways of healthy grieving that I've come across. And I found this, my therapist actually put me onto this. Yeah, people talk about the stages of grief, which are supposedly denial, anger, bargaining, including, if I'd done this, if I'd done that, would it not have happened? Depression and acceptance. But from my own experience, I'd say that these are more like aspects of grief than stages. And different aspects may be more to the fore at different times and for different people. And of course, for some people, we may not experience some of them at all. Some people, for example, never experience anger. But a model I've found a lot more helpful is the idea of 4 tasks of grief and mourning, which was an idea invented by a psychologist called J. William Worden. And even these, for me, haven't happened neatly one after the other. I think I've been working through all 4 of them all of the time, really. And although, again, one might be more noticeable than another on any given day. But anyway, I'm going to give a brief outline of my understanding of the 4 tasks. And the helpful resources page has links to the websites from which I learned this stuff. So, task 1. So, according to Mr. Worden, the first task of grieving is to accept the reality of the loss. Now, this includes accepting the significance of the loss to you personally and how it will impact your life, as well as coming to terms with the way the person died. And it doesn't mean that you have to like the way the person died or the fact that they've gone. And it doesn't mean that you have to completely let go of them. And a couple of the poems I wrote about losing Mum, I've chosen a couple of them that I feel chime in with that I hope will be helpful to other people in their grieving processes. So, the first is called Forever Changed. You were always there, a constant in my life, for nearly half a century. Now you're no longer here, and I feel a void, as though a great tree had been uprooted and left the earth ripped open, ragged and gaping. as though a tooth had been torn out and left the gum raw, sore, and smarting. The gum will heal, the bleeding will stop, and the wound will close, but the smile is forever changed. The earth will mend, the hollow will settle, and wild flowers will grow there, but the tree will still be gone. And the second is called Let It Be, which is about really acceptance again. And anyway, yeah, I'm probably not going to be very articulate through this because this is still something that I am working through and is still not that easy for me to talk about. So let it be. I am learning to let the pain be there, to let it rest cradled in my heart, to let that thread of soreness run through my soul. I am learning to let the loss be there, to let it sit with me, to let it accompany me in my aloneness. I am learning to let the love be there, to let its bitter sweetness embrace me, to let its warmth still smile within me. Okay. Right. Task 2. To work through the pain of the grief. And this, of course, is the part that most of us think of as grief and resonates with the depression or sadness aspect of grief. Mine was most painful and intense during the first month of my loss, and at times it really did feel completely overwhelming, overpowering. And then there was another milestone of healing at around the 3-month mark, but it's still, even now, nearly 2 years later, it's still something that I'm working through. And this pain may be made up of a wide variety of emotions, including sadness, fear, despair, emptiness, hopelessness, anger, guilt, blame, shame, even relief if the person was ill and they're out of suffering. And, this like cocktail of emotions can be really, really tough to work through and to deal with. But it's very important that we learn to acknowledge how we feel and to have people that we can talk to about it. I do firmly believe that having people to help us work through it is an important part of how God would wish for us to work through things. I know there may be cases where people aren't able to do that, but I think his ideal is for us to have people to support us through these things. Anyway, my first poem that chimed in with this is called Down Day. And it's not a happy poem, but and the idea is to bring comfort in this. But I hope that through it I can empathise with people in their pain and they can find comfort in that. So I hope it has that effect, which is why I chose to share it. Down Day. Today is a down day, an aching day, a day when the heart is bruised, burdened, borne down, worn down, weary. Today is a fierce day, a cruel day, a day when pain rises, seizing the throat, clenching the heart, overflowing through the eyes. Today is a stark day, a sore day, a day when the mind rebels against the real, when it vomits out the truth of now, demanding that it must not be so, demanding that the past be reinstated, that the loss be gone, that the pain be gone. Today is a down day. And the next one is called 1 Year On, which I wrote obviously about a year after we'd lost her. And I hope gives hope to those who are still in the fiercest throes of this, that there will be light at the end of their tunnel. And you can get through this. 1 year on, there is still a pain that runs deep, like a gash through my soul. Like an undertow in the sea, the pull is strong, drawing me down into its flow, dragging me away from the shore into the dark depths. Sometimes I ride that undercurrent. Sometimes I ride the waves above. Even as I drift on the surface and feel the sun, the other current still runs below, and I sense its tug at my heart. But I am no longer caught in it, no longer tossed and tumbled, helpless in its brutal power. I am no longer drowning in the dark. I am grateful to feel the sun. Okay. Task 3. These are task 3 of Word and Spore tasks is to adjust to an environment in which the deceased is missing. This is a big one for me, and probably because we had shared the same home for the last few years. My mum moved in with me 6 years before we lost her, and I found that more of my poems really fit into this category than any of the others. It's something that can take a lot of time to work through and will involve the practical side of life as well as emotions and companionship. And one thing that really helped me was having regular time with people I trusted and felt comfortable with. All this happened at the height of the COVID-19 lockdowns, but a friend phoned me every day for the first few weeks. And my sister and one of my closest friends both met with me virtually once a week. And we didn't always talk about the bereavement, but it was just good to feel that I wasn't alone. And there's another friend who met with me virtually to watch a TV show that Mum and I had watched together regularly. And these 3 meetings are still going on in my life now, and I'm immensely grateful both to and for all of these people who helped me and stood by me through it. And my Christian counsellor and therapist has also been invaluable, and I do really recommend seeking out help of this kind too. And in the helpful resources page, there are links to both the UK and the US Psychology Today pages where you can search for a therapist or a counsellor who can help you. And they have, you can search for ones who meet online, you can search for ones in your area. It shows you their qualifications, their experience, and you can actually ask specifically for a Christian counsellor, which I always do. And yeah, basically all the details you're likely to need are there, and I found that resource very helpful. My first therapist ceased her practice, and I had to find another one. And my current one is also about to cease her practice for different reasons, and so I'm going to have to do it again. But yeah, that's where I go, and I highly recommend it. I've chosen 3 poems for this to sort of exemplify, hopefully, this task of grieving. The first is called Some Part of Every Day. Some part of every day I think of you. Some part of every day I miss you, I feel my loss. Some part of every day I remember our times together. Some part of every day I miss your company, your personality, your presence. Some part of every day I wish I could tell you something. Some part of every day I wish I could ask you something. Some part of every day I remember where you are now. Some part of every day I remember the joy you have now. Some part of every day I remember your love. Some part of every day I am grateful. And the next one is called Pain Again, which expresses, well, it was about a time when pain came up again. I find that it goes sort of in waves, and yeah, this was when a wave of grief came again quite some time after one had gone, but about working through that. So I hope for that reason that it will again be of help to people. And also, again, to empathise and let people know that they're not alone in this. So, Pain Again. Tonight I sit with my pain again. That smarting in my soul, that soreness in the core of my being, that inexorable awareness of what is gone, what is lost. A wound reopened and raw, stinging, scooped out. A pound of pain cut from the place closest to the heart. Tonight I sit with my pain again, until the razor edge dulls, the bite and burn abate, the quivering rawness recedes like an ebbing tide. Tonight I sit with my pain, until my soul settles like snow, peace piling up into a deep drift heaped around my heart. I sit with my pain until it passes, until my tender, troubled heart finds relief, finds release, finds rest, until I know that I am still loved and it's going to be okay. And the other one is Sometimes Sadness, which is about Jesus comforting me in sadness. And I want people to know, if they don't already, that he absolutely wants to comfort you too. And will leap at the opportunity to do so if you just open it to him. Okay, Sometimes Sadness. Sometimes still the sadness comes, and I want to push it away. I dread returning to that place of twilight sobbing, when my heart crumpled like waste paper, and all I knew was the sucking vacuum of my loss. Yet when I take my Saviour's hand, and I let the sadness come, when I let it settle like sediment into the waters of my soul, he blankets my loss in warm layers of love. Sometimes still the sadness comes, but only when I face the loss can I find the grace to heal. Okay. We are overrunning a bit. I apologise, folks. I thought we might overrun by about 5 minutes, but it looks like it's going to be longer than that. However, when it gets to the podcast, I can edit it down and it will probably be about the right time length there. But if people do have other places to be, I understand. So this is the fourth of Worden's 4 tasks of grieving, which I'm presenting as an alternative to the idea of stages of grieving, which I personally think are more like aspects of grieving, and which I found very helpful in processing the loss of my mum. So the fourth task is to find an enduring connection with the deceased while embarking on a new life. This is the one where we learn to get past the feeling that life stopped when the person died. We find ways to feel emotionally connected to them other than the sorrow and pain that overwhelmed us at the beginning. And I think that's really important, that that's not the only way of staying connected to the person. And it's not about getting over it, much less forgetting about the person, but it's about finding ways to continue our lives and finding new meaning and purpose in them. As with everything else, it will be different for each person, but I do believe we can only get to this point by facing the pain head on and working through it with the help of people who love us and care about us, and preferably also with the help of God. So the first of my poems that I felt fitted in with this is called Memento Vitae. And the idea of memento mori, a reminder of death, is quite well known, I think. But it means like people use it to talk about things that remind them that they are mortal, that they're going to die and stuff. But this is about remembering life and remembering to live it, basically. And it's really about the loss of both my parents. And remembering their lives rather than their deaths, basically. So, Memento Vitae. I don't need the graveyard. That bleak, wind-blown ground, the rustle of the yellowing grasses, the dying flowers, the cold clay. Here I see only the loss, the pain, the black gleam of the hearses, the blank wooden boxes being lowered into the cold clay. Here I see only death. I need the sunshine, the sky, the music, the memories. Here I remember the hours, the days, the smiles, the laughter, the love. Here I remember their lives. I don't need the graveyard. It's in living life that we remember life. This one is called Still There, which is about how I was. One of the aspects of my grieving was that I was afraid I would forget her, forget what she was like, Mum. And so Still There. I have feared that your personality would fade from my memory, that your voice and your wit and your ways would slowly vanish from my mind, and then I would truly have lost you. Yet I find, when I cease to worry and wonder, when I let my heart unclench from its fear, that you are still there. Just like Dad, you are still there in some spiritual recess deep inside me, as though your soul were captured in crystal, preserved and pristine, free from all that held you back and harmed you, clean and whole and smiling and alive, and full of the joy of your Lord. And the last poem is called Gone Before, which is really about not being lost at all, in fact, but being with Jesus. So, gone before. She has gone before me into glory. She sees her Lord's face, she rests in his grace, where nothing can harm, distress, or alarm. Though gone from my sight, she lives in the light, enjoys unimpaired what God has prepared. His peace floods her soul, his love makes her whole. She's entered his joy that none can destroy, divided from me, but finally free. And I will see her again one day, and Dad. And we will have all of eternity to catch up. So, going back to general thing, I wanted to just wrap up with the practical advice that I've gleaned from some articles, which, as I mentioned earlier, are in the helpful resources page that there's a link to in the description. But I'll just run through it quickly now. It's also in the comments, in the description anyway, the advice, because I thought that might help people. Pardon me. So, practical advice for dealing with Mother's Day. Number one, before the day, think about how you're likely to feel. And really, this would, I mean, I know Mother's Day has gone in my own country, but any other events that are likely to bring up painful memories or difficult emotions, I think this will go for as well. So, number one, before the day, think about how you're likely to feel. Then plan to put things in place that will help you with those feelings. For instance, calming experiences and supportive people and things like that. Plan to avoid people or situations that will not be healthy for you at this time. Give yourself permission to opt out of situations, gatherings, whatever. Have a planned answer if you don't want to talk about things. For instance, something like, I'm doing as well as I can be under the circumstances. How are things with you? So, you're not being rude to people, but you're also steering it away from what you don't want to talk about and setting your boundary. Excuse me. Number two, remember that it's absolutely fine to do whatever you need to do to pass the day in a healthy way. For instance, you might want to spend the day alone, remembering the person you've lost or can't be with. You may want to talk to people you trust. You may need to cry, either alone or with other people. You might want to meet up with other people who are in the same position as you are. You might want to do something that you feel honours your experiences, or something that will make you feel connected to the person you've lost. Or you might want to skip the thing altogether. Again, give yourself permission to opt out. That is absolutely fine. 3, remember there's no right or wrong way to handle your pain. It is your pain. Find what works for you. Nobody else gets to decide how you should feel. 4, remember it's okay to not be okay. And 5, the bottom line is be kind to yourself. So that brings me to the end of my material. Stop screen sharing. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate you. Anybody who watches it later, thank you. I appreciate you too. Or indeed listens to the podcast. The next This Now will be on, it's always the first Thursday of every month, 8 p.m. till roughly 8:30. We have overrun a bit, I apologise. The next one will be on the 2nd of June, and the theme, I think, will be God's faithfulness. There is a link in the description to the helpful resources page, which includes articles on dealing with Mother's Day, articles on grief and grieving, and pages from the UK and US Psychology Today websites where you can search for a therapist. And that's about it. Thank you again for coming, and I hope you have a lovely month, people.